Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing yet another movie review. This movie is a horror film from the USA, English language, released in the year 2021, directed by David Gordon Green, and this film is called Halloween Kills. So Halloween Kills is a direct continuation on from the 2018 Halloween film. You got Michael Myers that's causing havoc in the town of Haddonfield, and the residents are fed up with this. They want to vanquish evil once and for all because this is no way to live. So whether or not they can defeat Michael Myers once and for all is something you're going to have to find out for yourself. But that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Halloween Kills. For those of you who have been following me for a while, you know that in the past I really wasn't a slasher horror fan. And the reason is because when I was a kid I really liked Jason Voorhees. But they always felt like entertaining popcorn horror films. I was never genuinely scared. So since getting older, I've branched out into the horror films that actually make me feel scared. And how you can make someone feel scared is actually posing a sense of realism. And so I know that slashers have a place, and they have a very important place for the horror genre, but for me, they just didn't really do it for me anymore. But it wasn't until the Rob Zombie Halloween films came along that I actually became interested in these iconic figures in horror, especially Michael Myers. Now I know this is a very unpopular opinion, but I actually really like Rob Zombie's Halloween films. I actually thought they were very good, and I know that is definitely something that you don't hear every day because the majority says that these movies are really bad, but for me I really liked them, and this is the reason why I got back into Michael Myers and those iconic figures that are important for really driving the horror genre forward. And so coming into Halloween from 2018, I didn't know what to expect, but I really liked that film. I thought it was a standard slasher film, but it was very brutal, and it was actually quite scary in some instances. And so coming into Halloween Kills, I had massive expectations based on the fact that this is a direct continuation on from the 2018 effort. And so those massive expectations were at an all-time high. I went into the film, and ultimately I come away from this movie bitterly disappointed. Now the movie does have positives. I will say that the kills, it is a very brutal film, and it's a very high body count. And so that's exactly what you want coming into a slasher film, and that's what you'll get from Halloween Kills. I thought Michael Myers looked very menacing. He has a presence about him that was very creepy, and he felt like that invincible killing machine that you get from previous installments. And I really liked the mask. I thought the mask was very haunting. So you've got the soundtrack that is Halloween from John Carpenter, so it does stay true to what made Halloween the franchise that it is. And there are nods to the classics, the original Halloween. So I like the way the movie was shot. It actually felt very grainy. It actually felt like a 1970s film. And so the nostalgia is there, and the love for this franchise is there throughout this movie. But unfortunately, that's where the positives stop, and this is where the negatives start, is that this movie is way too serious for the slasher that it wants to be. There are elements that are that popcorn horror film, but there are other elements that make you think. And the thought-provoking quality surrounding fear has been done so many times before, so it's not bringing anything new to the table. And unfortunately, when it brings that thought-provoking quality in here, it feels like a different film. It feels like a completely different experience to what you would expect from a slasher. The 2018 film was very standard. It was a cut and dry slasher film, a bad guy going through Haddonfield killing people at will, and it's basically the good guys having to come up with a plan to defeat the bad guy. But in this movie, it does have that element in the base of the storytelling, but unfortunately it has another element thrown in there that I thought was not handled very well, because it felt out of place. It felt like a popcorn horror film that wanted to be a little bit different. Now I like films that are creative, I like films that want to be different, but unfortunately, especially as far as iconic slashers are concerned, you can't be too different, because this ultimately is popcorn horror at its finest. But this movie, it throws something else in there that kind of just felt really out of place. And so that thought-provoking quality, I didn't feel as though it belonged in a Halloween film, which is ultimately the reason why I was distracted when I was watching this movie, because the characters, they aren't in depth. And so there are moments that it wants to pull on the heartstrings, but it just doesn't do that. And so it wants to pose that message of what fear does to everyday people and how they can act in ways that are very barbaric. And that's something that is very relevant in today's society, but it's been done so many times before. So it's not providing anything different. All it does is to provide something different within the slasher sort of franchise, which is not something you go in there expecting. And so it is a surprise, but unfortunately for me it wasn't a welcome surprise, and I didn't really like that. I thought the script was really bad. There were some really laughable lines that really took me out of it, and so I thought as though the script needed to be a lot better than it was. I thought Jamie Lee Curtis plays a cameo in this film. It's not really using her as much as I really wanted it to, and I thought there were moments that were just really stupid, especially at the end. There's a lot of monologues in this film that explain things that I thought wanted to be a lot more serious than they were, and so the movie doesn't know what it wants to be as far as the tone is concerned. There are some really laughable moments, there's some real moments of overacting, and it just doesn't want to be that black and white slasher that it really needed to be. So it bites off way more than it can chew and ultimately falls down in a real mess that I was hoping it was going to be a lot better than it was. If I'm being honest here, the ending I thought was laughably bad. It didn't really make sense, and so some of the editing moments were a little bit iffy. I thought they were very distracting. So unfortunately, the negatives far outweigh the positives in this movie. I wanted to love it, but I come away disliking it a lot more than I expected. So overall, for Halloween Kills, this is a real step down from the 2018 film. I'm going to give this movie 1.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.